The knock came during dinner prep, while I was chopping carrots for Nolan's birthday stew. Through the kitchen window, late afternoon sunlight caught the copper wind chimes Sarah had made in third grade, sending warm reflections dancing across my cutting board. Coming. I wiped my hands and headed for the door, expecting Mrs. Peterson returning another borrowed casserole dish. Instead, a woman I'd never seen before stood on my porch, her manicured fingers fidgeting with an expensive-looking handbag. Mrs.
Hartwell.
Her voice was soft but steady. I'm Camille Rivers. I need to speak with you about Nolan. Something in her tone made my stomach clench. He's at work. Is everything okay? May I come in? This isn't a conversation for your front porch. I hesitated, then stepped aside. As she passed, her perfume, something expensive and floral, filled the entryway. I led her to the living room, where family photos lined the walls. Sarah's graduation, our family vacation in Maine, Nolan teaching Orion to fish. Would you like some tea? I offered automatically, mother's instincts kicking in despite my unease. No, thank you. Camille perched on the edge of our worn leather couch, her designer outfit looking out of place against the familiar cushions. I've been seeing Nolan for the past 8 months. I'm pregnant, and he's the father. The words hit like a physical blow. I gripped the doorframe, steadying myself. I don't understand. We met at that real estate conference in Chicago last summer. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos. I thought you should know. He's been less than honest with both of us. My eyes fixed on the screen she held out. Nolan, my husband of 27 years, kissing this stranger in what looked like a hotel lobby. The timestamp showed 3 weeks ago. Get out. My voice came out barely above a whisper. Mrs. Hartwell, Alara, I know this is difficult, but get out of my house. Louder now, steadier.
Now.
She stood, smoothing her skirt. I'll leave my number. When you're ready to talk. There's nothing to talk about. I walked to the front door, holding it open. As she passed, she slipped a business card onto the entry table. After she left, I returned to the kitchen on autopilot. The carrots sat unfinished on the cutting board, knife abandoned mid-chop. I picked it up, the familiar weight grounding me as my world tilted sideways. The garage door hummed to life. Nolan's footsteps, the same rhythm I'd known for nearly 3 decades, approached through the mudroom. Something smells good, he called out. Need any help with Elle? What's wrong? I turned slowly, still gripping the knife. Camille Rivers was just here. His face went blank for a fraction of a second, just long enough to confirm everything. Then, who? Don't. The knife clattered into the sink. Don't you dare lie to me. Elle, whatever she told you. Is she pregnant? His silence was answer enough. I watched his face, searching for the man I'd married, the father of my children. Instead, I saw a stranger wearing my husband's features. I can explain, he started, reaching for me. I stepped back. Don't touch me.
Don't.
My voice broke. The stew's ruined. You'll need to find somewhere else for dinner.
And tonight.
And I swallowed hard. And after that too. Alara, please. We can work this out. Think about the kids, I am thinking about the kids. I met his eyes. I'm thinking about what kind of example I want to set for our daughter. For our son. I picked up Camille's business card from where I'd brought it to the kitchen.
Here.
You forgot something. I pressed the card into his hand and walked upstairs, leaving him standing in our kitchen, surrounded by the half-prepared remains of what should have been his birthday dinner. 3 days after Nolan left, Sarah showed up at the house unannounced. She stood in the doorway, her father's stubborn chin jutting forward as she clutched her phone. Dad called me. Her voice wavered. He said you kicked him out. I stepped aside to let her in, noting how she avoided my touch. That's not exactly what happened. He said he made a mistake, but you won't even talk to him. She paced our living room, where the familiar family photos now felt like artifacts from another life. People mess up, Mom. They deserve second chances. Sit down, sweetheart. I patted the couch beside me. There's more to it than what your father told you. Like what? She remained standing, arms crossed. He told me everything. About Camille, about. She swallowed hard. About the baby. Did he tell you about the 8 months of lies? About the business trips that weren't business trips? He's trying to make it right. Her voice cracked. Why won't you at least hear him out? My phone buzzed. Another message from Nolan. I'd stopped reading them after the 20th apology. Because this isn't just about the affair, Sarah. It's about trust, about. You're not even trying. She grabbed her purse. Dad's staying at Grandma and Grandpa's. He's miserable. He wants to come home.
Sera?
I'm having dinner with him tonight. You should come. Just talk to him. I thought of the way he'd looked in our kitchen, scrambling for excuses while wearing the watch I'd given him for our anniversary. I can't. Won't, you mean? She headed for the door, then paused. You know what the worst part is? You're acting like you're the only one hurt by this.
But what about me?
What about Orion? That's exactly why. Save it. She yanked the door open. I'll tell Dad you said hi. After she left, I sat in the quiet house, surrounded by memories that felt tainted. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Rosalind, my mother-in-law. Elara, dear. Her familiar voice carried decades of warmth. Nolan's told us what happened. We're devastated, of course, but surely you two can work through this? For the children's sake. Rosalind. He's not perfect, dear, but he loves you. And that Camille woman, well, these young things know how to turn men's heads. I press my fingers to my temples. He's 42, not 17. And she's pregnant. Well. She paused delicately. Are we certain about that? What do you mean? Nolan says she's been unclear about details.
Dates.
Perhaps she's not being entirely truthful. Hope flickered traitorously in my chest. Has he said that? Why don't you come to dinner tonight? Sarah will be here. We can all talk this through like family. I thought of Nolan's face when Camille's name first came up, that split second of recognition before the lie. I can't, Rosalind. I'm sorry. After hanging up, I walked to our bedroom, my bedroom now, and opened Nolan's closet. His suits hung in neat rows, dry cleaning tags still attached to several. I pulled one out, checking the date. August 15th. The Chicago conference. My hands shook as I dialed the dry cleaner's number. Hi, yes. I'm calling about some suits dropped off by Nolan Hartwell. Oh, Mr.
Hartwell.
Yes, he's one of our regulars. Always needs rush service for his trips. The August 15th suits. Was that for Chicago? Chicago? No, those were for his Vegas weekend. He always goes to that casino convention in August. Been doing it for years. The phone slipped from my fingers. Casino, convention. Not real estate. Not Chicago. My gaze fell on our bedside table, where Nolan's bank statements lay unopened. With trembling fingers, I reached for the envelope, suddenly afraid of what other lies I might find. The bank statements spread across my kitchen table told a story so different from the one I'd believed. Credit card bills from casinos, cash advances, mysterious wire transfers, all hidden behind careful lies about business expenses and investment opportunities. My hands shook as I dialed our accountant's number. James? It's Elara Hartwell. I need to know about our retirement accounts. His hesitation spoke volumes. I've been trying to reach Nolan about those. What do you mean? There were some irregular withdrawals, large ones. I assumed you knew. The room tilted sideways. How large? Most of your joint savings. About 300,000. I gripped the chair to steady myself. When? The last withdrawal was 2 weeks ago. Elara, I'm required to tell you, there's a federal investigation pending. Something about suspicious transactions. The doorbell rang, startling me. Through the window, I saw Orion shifting nervously on the porch, home early from soccer practice. I quickly gathered the papers. Thanks, James. I'll call you back. Orion burst in before I could fully compose myself. Mom? Why are there people taking pictures of our house? What people? He dropped his sports bag, frowning. Some guys in suits. They were parked across the street, but they left when I noticed them. My phone buzzed, Nolan's number. I declined the call, only to see 3 missed calls from Sarah and 2 from Rosalind. Before I could check the messages, another call came through Camille. "Don't hang up," she said quickly. "There's something you need to know about Nolan's gambling." "I already know." "No, you don't. The baby, it wasn't just an affair. He promised to pay off my brother's gambling debts if I helped him hide money from the feds. Said he needed someone they wouldn't connect to him." The room went cold. "What are you saying?" The pregnancy was a lie. He needed a distraction, something to explain why he was moving money around.
I'm so sorry, Alara.
"I never meant." Orion appeared in the doorway, his father's eyes looking back at me. "Mom? What's wrong?" "I have to go," I told Camille, hanging up. "Was that Dad?" Orion asked. "Is he coming home soon?" Before I could answer, the doorbell rang again. This time, 2 men in dark suits stood on the porch, badges in hand. "Mrs. Hartwell? I'm Agent Cooper with the FBI. We need to ask you some questions about your husband's financial activities." Orion stepped closer to me. "Mom, go upstairs, honey. Start your homework. I'll be up soon." As he reluctantly climbed the stairs, I let the agents in, their presence filling our cozy living room with an official chill. "Mrs. Hartwell, are you aware that your husband has been involved in a money laundering operation connected to several offshore gambling establishments?" I thought of all those business trips, the late-night phone calls, the way he'd insisted on handling all our finances.
No.
"We have evidence suggesting large sums were moved through your joint accounts. Did you authorize these transactions?" My phone buzzed again, Sarah. The text preview showed, "Mom, Dad's saying crazy things. He's threatening to Mrs. Hartwell." I looked up at the agents, thinking of Orion upstairs, of Sarah's angry departure, of the life I thought I'd built. "I need to call my lawyer." Agent Cooper nodded sympathetically. "Of course. But Mrs. Hartwell, you should know, your husband disappeared from his parents' house an hour ago.
If he contacts you."
My phone lit up with another text from Sarah. "He took Grandpa's gun." "Mom, please answer." The second agent stepped forward. "Mrs. Hartwell, are you all right? You've gone pale." But I couldn't respond, my eyes fixed on the final words of Sarah's text. "He says he's coming home." 6 months after Nolan's arrest, I found myself at the Cedar Grove Community Center, helping set up for the annual fundraiser. The FBI had frozen our accounts, leaving me to rebuild from scratch. Teaching art classes here helped pay the bills, though barely. "These tables need to be closer to the stage," called a voice I didn't recognize. A tall man with kind eyes was gesturing from across the room. "Sorry, I'm Aiden. New board member." "Alara," I replied, lifting my end of the table. "Though around here, I'm better known as that teacher whose husband laundered money for the mob." I hadn't meant to say it out loud, but Aiden just nodded, helping me position the table.
Yes.
"And I'm that architect whose wife died in the car accident." Small towns. Something in his matter-of-fact tone made me smile. They do love their labels. We worked in comfortable silence until my phone buzzed, a collect call from the county jail. I declined it like always. "Bad news?" Aiden asked, noticing my expression. "Just
Ghosts."
I started arranging chairs. "My daughter hasn't spoken to me since her father's sentencing. She thinks I should have stood by him." "My daughter blamed me for her mother's death for 2 years," he said quietly. "Sometimes love looks like anger when it's hurting." Before I could respond, Martha from the board bustled over. "Alara, dear, could you handle the art auction pieces? We need someone with experience to assess their value." The implied meaning was clear. Someone who wouldn't steal them. I felt my cheeks burn. "Actually," Aiden interrupted, "I need Alara's help with the lighting design. Board priority." Martha retreated, flustered. Aiden turned to me. "I'm sorry. People can be. It's fine." I grabbed my purse. "I should go anyway. Orion has soccer practice." "Mom, speak of the devil." My son stood in the doorway, still in his uniform. "Practice got canceled. But, Sarah's outside. She wants to talk to you."
My heart jumped.
Through the window, I could see my daughter pacing the parking lot, looking so much like her teenage self that it hurt. Go, Aiden said softly. I'll finish up here. Outside, Sarah wouldn't meet my eyes. Dad wrote me from prison. He says
You knew about the gambling.
that you helped him hide it.
What?
He has documents, Mom. Bank transfers you signed. He says you turned on him to save yourself. My hands shook. Those signatures were for a mortgage refinancing. He told me. Stop lying. She thrust a paper at me. Look, your signature, right there on the wire transfer to Grand Casino Resort. I stared at the familiar curve of my name, remembering signing papers Nolan had rushed me through during breakfast, during Orion's games, between classes. Sarah, I never. Save it. She backed away. I'm moving to California with Ben. I can't be here anymore. Watching you pretend to be the victim when you helped destroy our family. Serafina, please. But she was already walking away, leaving me clutching a forged document that somehow looked perfectly real. Through my tears, I saw Aiden approaching cautiously. Bad news? He asked again, echoing our earlier conversation. I looked down at the paper in my hands, then at my son hovering uncertainly nearby. I need a lawyer. A good one.
And
I took a deep breath. And maybe a friend. Well, he said, his steady presence somehow making the ground feel firmer beneath my feet. You're in luck. I happen to know an excellent lawyer. And I make a decent friend, or so I'm told. For the first time in months, I felt something like hope stirring in my chest. But my phone buzzed again. Nolan's lawyer this time, reminding me that hope was a dangerous thing in a game where all the rules had changed. A year had passed since I'd first met Aiden when he slid a small velvet box across our dinner table. Orion watched with eager eyes while Isla, Aiden's daughter, filmed the moment on her phone. You don't have to answer now, Aiden said softly. But I did. The ring slipped perfectly onto my finger, and for a moment, everything felt right. Until my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Congratulations on the engagement. Dad wants to know if he can still walk me down the aisle.
Sarah.
My hands trembled. She's getting married? Aiden reached across the table, but before he could speak, another text arrived. Ben and I set the date. December 15th. Prisons approved Dad's temporary release for the ceremony. Mom, Orion's voice cracked with concern. What's wrong? I showed Aiden the messages.
His jaw tightened.
They can't just release him without. His lawyer arranged it. Isla interrupted, reading from her phone. Sarah just posted about it. She says,
Oh, what?
She says she wants both her fathers there. Real and chosen. The room went silent. Aiden's proposal ring suddenly felt heavy on my finger. I should call her, I said, standing. Aiden caught my hand. Think about what this means. Nolan out of prison at the wedding. He's still her father. He's also the man who forged your signature and tried to frame you for his crimes. My phone buzzed again. Rosalind this time. Nolan's so happy about the wedding. He says he hopes you and Aiden will be comfortable with the seating arrangements. Family table, of course. I stepped onto the back porch, needing air. Through the kitchen window, I could see Orion and Isla in intense discussion, while Aiden cleaned dishes with mechanical precision, his worry evident in every movement. Another text from Sarah. Ben's family is handling the expenses. Since Nolan had drained our accounts. Since I'd lost my house. Since everything we'd saved for her future had vanished into offshore gambling debts. The screen door creaked. Isla joined me, holding 2 wine glasses. Sarah and I used to be close, Before everything. We still text sometimes. You do? She nodded, handing me a glass. She's scared, Alara. She keeps asking about Dad, about how he helped me after Mom died. I think she's looking for permission to love both fathers. While one of them is trying to destroy the other's family, maybe that's why she needs this wedding so badly. To prove we can all exist in the same space without everything falling apart. My phone lit up one final time. A message from Nolan's prison email. I hear congratulations are in order. Don't worry about the wedding. I'll make sure Sarah understands exactly where everyone stands in the family hierarchy. It's the least I can do, considering everything you took from me. Isla read over my shoulder. Dad needs to see this. These aren't just threats anymore. No, I said, deleting the email. This is between me and Nolan. Elara. I won't let him ruin another wedding. Not Sarah's. Even if it means pretending everything's fine. Sitting at that family table while I'll handle it. I twisted the engagement ring on my finger. Tell your father. Tell him I need to make a call. Isla hesitated. To who? I looked through the window at Aiden, at the family we were building, then down at my phone where Sarah's wedding announcement glowed accusingly. To Camille Rivers. It's time to find out exactly what kind of deal she made with Nolan's lawyers and why she suddenly changed her story about the money laundering. And then I decide which matters more, exposing Nolan's lies or letting Sarah have her perfect wedding day. The choice felt impossible, but as I dialed Camille's number, I realized something. Sometimes being a mother meant choosing between what was right and what was necessary. I just wasn't sure which was which anymore. The December wind cut through my thin dress as I watched Nolan walk Sarah down the aisle of the small church. His prison-issued ankle monitor peeked beneath his tailored suit pants, a detail the wedding photographer would later edit out. Aiden squeezed my hand, but I barely felt it. All I could see was Nolan's triumphant smile as he placed Sarah's hand in Ben's, then took his seat in the front row, the father's place of honor. My place was 3 rows back, next to Aiden and our children. The seating arrangement had been Sarah's idea. To avoid tension, she'd said, not meeting my eyes. The ceremony blurred past until the minister asked, "Who gives this woman in marriage?" "Her father and I do," Nolan answered alone, his voice carrying clearly through the church. I felt Isla stiffen beside me. Orion grabbed my arm as I started to rise, shaking his head slightly. Not here.
Not now.
At the reception, I watched Nolan dance with our daughter, their heads bent close in conversation. My phone buzzed, a text from Camille. "Check your email. Now." In the attached video, Nolan sat in what looked like a hotel room, counting stacks of cash. "The money laundering operation goes deeper than anyone knows," Camille's message continued. "He's still running it from prison, through Sarah's new husband's family business." My champagne glass slipped from my fingers, shattering on the floor. Heads turned, including Nolan's. Our eyes met across the dance floor, and his smile widened. "Mom," Sarah approached, her white dress catching the light. "Dad wants a photo with both of us." "Honey, we need to talk. About Ben's family business." "Stop." Her voice turned hard. "I know what you're doing. Dad warned me you might try something today." "What?" "He told me about the fake evidence you're creating, trying to keep him in prison longer." She twisted her bouquet. "I saw the doctored bank statements on your laptop." My heart stopped. "What laptop?" "The one in your study. Dad's lawyer found them when they were gathering evidence for his appeal. The timestamps prove you've been falsifying documents." The room spun. I hadn't owned a laptop since Nolan's arrest. The FBI had taken everything, which meant, there you are. Nolan appeared, wrapping an arm around Sarah. "Ready for that photo?" "Actually," Aiden stepped forward, "I think Elara needs some air." "Nonsense." Nolan's grip on Sarah tightened. "It's our daughter's wedding day. Surely we can manage one photo." "Our daughter?" The words escaped before I could stop them. "You forged my signature, stole her college fund, and now you're using her husband's family to—" "Mom." Sarah jerked away from both of us. "This is exactly why I didn't want you involved in the wedding planning. You can't let anything go." "Sweetheart," Nolan soothed, "your mother's just having trouble accepting that people can change, that families can heal." "Is that what you call framing me with fake evidence?" I demanded. "Healing." The music stopped. Guests stared. Ben's parents whispered among themselves. "Security," Nolan called calmly. "I believe we discussed this possibility." 2 men in dark suits approached. "Mrs. Hartwell, please come with us." "You can't be serious," Aiden started, but Sarah cut him off.
Just go, Mom. Please.
before you ruin everything else. As the guards escorted me out, I caught a glimpse of Nolan pulling our daughter close, comforting her. Through the window, I watched him raise his champagne glass in a toast, his ankle monitor glinting beneath his suit, a reminder that sometimes the prison you can see isn't the one that holds you tightest. Outside in the cold, Aiden's arms found me, but I barely felt them. All I could think about was Camille's video, the planted laptop, and the terrible realization that Nolan hadn't just stolen my daughter, he'd turned her into his strongest weapon against me. 2 weeks after Sarah's wedding, Camille called me at midnight. Turn on the news.
Now.
I fumbled for the remote as Aiden stirred beside me. The screen flickered to life, showing Ben's family's investment firm surrounded by FBI agents. Breaking news: major money laundering operation uncovered at Preston Investment Group. Sources say the scheme involves multiple prison inmates directing operations through family members. My phone buzzed again, Sarah. Mom, they're arresting Ben's parents. Dad says you did this. Tell me you didn't. A pounding at our front door cut me off. Through the peephole, I saw Nolan, his ankle monitor blinking angry red. Aiden, I whispered. Get Orion out through the back.
Now.
I'm not leaving you. Please. I pressed Camille's USB drive into his hand. Get this to the FBI. It's everything they need. The pounding grew louder. Open up, Elle. You've destroyed enough families tonight. I opened the door to find Nolan wild-eyed, rain-soaked. How dare you drag Ben's family into this? Me? I stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind me. You're the one who used our daughter's in-laws to launder money. I was protecting her future, making sure she had what you couldn't provide after you ruined everything. By making her complicit in your crimes? By turning her against. Against who? The mother who abandoned her father? Who moved on with a replacement family while I rotted in prison? Lightning illuminated his face, and for a moment, I saw something break behind his eyes. You never understood, he whispered. Everything I did, the gambling, the money, it was to be enough. For her.
For you. No.
I stepped closer. It was to feel powerful. To prove you could control everything and everyone around you. Like you're doing now? Destroying Ben's family to get back at me? I didn't call the FBI. I met his gaze. Camille did. She kept evidence of everything, the real evidence, not your planted laptop files. She was your insurance policy, wasn't she? Except she found out about the offshore accounts you hid from her too. His face contorted. You're lying. Check your phone, Nolan. Check the news. Camille's turning state's evidence as we speak. He lunged forward, but before he could reach me, Sarah's voice cut through the rain. Don't touch her. We turned to find our daughter on the lawn, Ben beside her, both drenched and devastated. Sarah, honey, Nolan started. The FBI showed me everything. She cut him off. The real documents. The videos. How you used Ben's family. Her voice broke. How you used me. I did it for you. You did it for yourself. She was crying now, rain mixing with tears. And I chose you over Mom. I let you manipulate me into thinking she was the villain. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Nolan's ankle monitor blinked faster. It's over, I said softly. Let her go, Nolan. Let us all go. He looked at Sarah one last time, then at me. You think this makes you win? You've still lost her. She'll never forgive either of us now. Maybe not. Sarah stepped forward, taking my hand. But at least Mom never asked me to choose. As police cars surrounded the house, I held my daughter while they arrested her father, again. But this time, when he looked back, there was no triumph in his eyes. Only the hollow recognition that in trying to possess his family, he'd finally, irrevocably lost us. Through the rain, I saw Aiden return with Orion, the USB drive safely delivered. Sarah's grip on my hand tightened, and I realized that sometimes winning isn't about revenge at all. Sometimes it's about being there to catch the pieces when everything falls apart. 6 months after Nolan's second arrest, I sat in our backyard watching Sarah plant tulip bulbs in the spring soil. She'd moved in with us temporarily, while Ben dealt with his family's legal troubles, bringing an unexpected peace to our fractured family. These were Dad's favorite, she said, patting the earth around a bulb. He used to plant them every fall, remember? I nodded, remembering how proud Nolan had been of his garden. Before the gambling. Before everything fell apart. His lawyer sent another letter, Sarah continued, not looking up. He's agreed to testify against the gambling ring. Full confession, names, everything. What changed his mind? She pulled a crumpled envelope from her pocket. This came with it. He asked me to show you. Inside was a photograph, Nolan and Sarah at her 5th birthday party, both covered in cake frosting and laughing. On the back, he'd written, I forgot who I was trying to be this happy. Isla emerged from the house carrying lemonade, followed by Orion with a plate of cookies. Our blended family had found its rhythm, even as we navigated the aftershocks of Nolan's choices. Ben called, Isla announced, settling beside Sarah. The prosecutors are offering a deal. With his cooperation, they might reduce his parents' sentences. Sarah's hands stilled in the dirt. Mom, I've been thinking about the house. The one Dad lost to the bank. What about it? Ben and I want to buy it back. Not to live in, but maybe as a fresh start. Something good from something broken. Aiden appeared in the doorway, watching us with quiet understanding. He'd shown me what love looked like without possession, what family meant without conditions. Camille sent over the last of the documentation, he said softly. The FBI's finished with everything. We can finally close that chapter. Not close, I corrected, watching my daughter's hands work the earth, planting hope in the same soil where betrayal had grown. Transform. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Rosalind, Nolan's mother, standing nervously on our porch. Since her son's arrest, she'd been trying to rebuild bridges, one awkward visit at a time. I'll get it, Sarah offered, brushing dirt from her knees. I invited her. She's trying. As Sarah went inside, Aiden took her place beside me. You okay? I watched through the window as my daughter hugged her grandmother, both of them crying and laughing at once. On the table between them, I could see another envelope, Nolan's handwriting visible on the front. He'll never change completely, I said quietly. But maybe that's not what this was about. What was it about? I thought of the photograph, of birthday cake and laughter, of tulip bulbs waiting to bloom. Learning to love what remains after forgiveness, even if it's not what we expected. Sarah returned with Rosalind, who clutched a familiar garden trowel, Nolan's old one. He wanted Sarah to have this, she explained, for the new house. My daughter took the trowel, running her fingers over the worn handle where her father's hands had gripped it countless times. Then she held it out to me. Plant one with me? She asked. For the future? As I knelt beside her in the dirt, Aiden's steady presence behind me and Rosalind watching through tears, I realized that sometimes the greatest act of love isn't in holding on or letting go. It's in planting seeds in soil that once seemed poisoned, believing that something beautiful might still grow. Sarah pressed a bulb into my palm. It'll bloom by summer, she said softly. Dad always said you have to trust the waiting. Yes, I agreed, thinking of all we'd lost and found and built again. You do. The text arrived during a client meeting, lighting up my phone with its silent accusation. I tried to focus on the marketing pitch, but my eyes kept drifting to the screen, to that single photo that threatened everything I thought I knew about my marriage. Alara, your thoughts on the campaign direction? Marcus, our creative director, was staring at me expectantly.
Sorry, yes.
The concept is solid, but we need stronger visuals for the third quarter push. I gripped my pen tighter, forcing myself to stay present. The image wouldn't leave my mind. Alden and Marlowe, his arm around her waist, her head tilted up toward him with that familiar, adoring look I used to see directed at me. The caption beneath it was worse. Family secrets. After the meeting, I locked myself in my office and finally allowed myself to really look at the photo. They were standing outside some cafe I didn't recognize, caught in what could be an innocent moment between siblings. But something in their body language, the intimacy of their stance, made my stomach turn. My phone buzzed again. Alden. Hey, running late tonight. Marlowe needs help with some insurance paperwork for Derek's estate. Of course she did. Ever since her husband's death 6 months ago, Marlo had needed help with everything. No problem, I replied, keeping it light. When should I expect you? Not sure. Don't wait up. I stared at the message, remembering all the late nights over the past months, all the times I'd woken up to an empty bed. The excuses had seemed reasonable. Marlo was grieving, struggling with 2 young kids, drowning in paperwork. She needed her brother.
But now.
My office door opened, and Iris poked her head in. Lunch? You look like you could use a break. She must have read something in my expression because she stepped inside and closed the door. What's wrong? I handed her my phone, watched her face as she studied the photo. Who sent this? Anonymous number, blocked when I tried to call back. It could be nothing, Iris said carefully. They're siblings. Look at his hand on her waist. Look at how she's looking at him. The words came out sharper than I intended. That's not how siblings look at each other. Have you talked to Alden? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. He's with her right now. Insurance paperwork, apparently. Iris set the phone down and leaned forward. Then go home early. Surprise them. See what's really going on. The suggestion sent a jolt through me. It was so simple, so obvious, and yet the thought of what I might find made me hesitate. What if? What if nothing? You need to know, Alara. This isn't going away. She was right. I gathered my things, made an excuse about a migraine to my team, and left the office. The drive home felt surreal, like I was watching someone else navigate through traffic, someone else's hands gripping the steering wheel too tightly. Our house came into view. The perfect colonial we'd bought 3 years ago, with its manicured lawn and welcoming front porch. Alden's car wasn't in the driveway, but Marlo's silver SUV was parked on the street. I sat there for a moment, engine idling, watching the house where my life was supposed to be perfect. Then my phone buzzed with another text from the unknown number. They're at the Blue Door Cafe. Thought you should know. I put the car in drive, my decision made. Sometimes knowing the truth is better than living with doubt, even if that truth destroys everything you thought you knew about love and family. The Blue Door Cafe wasn't what I expected. No dim lighting or secluded corners, just a bright, airy space filled with afternoon sunlight. I spotted them immediately through the window, sitting at a corner table. Nothing inappropriate, just 2 people talking over coffee. But then Marlo reached across and squeezed Alden's hand, and my world tilted sideways. My phone buzzed. Cora Winslow's name flashed on the screen. Alara, dear. We're coming for dinner tonight. Alden mentioned Marlo's moving in with you both, and we want to help get everything settled. I watched through the window as Alden wiped something from Marlo's cheek with his thumb. Tonight's not great, Cora. I have a work emergency. Nonsense. Family comes first. We'll be there at 6. The line went dead before I could protest. I gripped the steering wheel, fighting the urge to storm into the cafe. Instead, I drove home, my mind racing with possibilities of what to do next. 3 hours later, our dining room had become a war room. Cora orchestrated the chaos, directing movers with Marlo's furniture while Everett and Alden assembled a bunk bed upstairs for Marlo's kids. The guest room's perfect for them, Marlo said, arranging photos on the mantel. All Winslow family pictures, none including me. It's so generous of you both. I stood in my own living room, feeling like an intruder. When exactly was this decided? Oh, Alden didn't tell you? Marlo's eyes widened with practiced innocence. He said you discussed it last week. Must have slipped his mind. I forced a smile, noting how she'd already changed into comfortable clothes, like she belonged here. Cora swept in, carrying a casserole. Alara, dear, could you set the table? Marlo needs to rest. She's had such a difficult time lately. I bit back a response and headed to the kitchen. Through the doorway, I could hear them talking. She's taking it harder than expected, Marlo whispered. She'll adjust, Cora replied. Family has to stick together in times like these. I slammed the drawer shut harder than necessary, making them jump. Dinner's ready. I called up the stairs, my voice eerily calm. During dinner, I watched them all, The way they passed dishes, finished each other's sentences, shared inside jokes. A perfect family portrait, with me sitting just outside the frame. We should discuss the sleeping arrangements, Cora announced. The kids will need structure. Actually, I cut in. I thought we should discuss how long this arrangement will last. The table went silent. Alden shot me a warning look. Alara, he said quietly, we talked about this.
Did we?
Because I remember a very different conversation about helping Marlo find her own place. Marlo's lower lip trembled. I can look for apartments tomorrow. No, you won't, Cora interjected. This is your home now. Isn't it, Alden? I watched my husband's face, waiting for him to defend our marriage, our space, our life together. Instead, he reached for Marlo's hand. Of course it is. As long as you need. Later, after everyone had gone to bed, I found Alden in his study. You never asked me, I said. You just decided. They're my family, Alara. What was I supposed to do? And what am I? He wouldn't meet my eyes. It's temporary. Just until she gets back on her feet. I thought about the cafe, about the photos on the mantle, about all the little ways I was being erased from my own home. How long have you been making decisions without me? He finally looked up, and for a moment, I saw something flicker across his face. Guilt, maybe, or fear. But then Marlo's voice called from upstairs. Alden, the kids are asking for you, and whatever moment of truth we might have had vanished as he hurried to answer her call. The bank statement arrived on a Tuesday, buried under a pile of junk mail. I almost missed it, but the bold red, alert, balance below minimum caught my eye. Scanning the transactions, my coffee grew cold beside me as the numbers told their own story. 5 transfers to an account I didn't recognize. Each one for exactly $5,000. Morning. Marlo breezed into the kitchen wearing my favorite silk robe, the one Alden had given me for our anniversary. Is there coffee left? I slid the statement into my laptop bag. Help yourself. Nice robe. Oh, Alden said I could borrow it. You don't mind, do you? She poured herself coffee in my mother's old mug, the last thing I had of hers. The front door opened, and Alden walked in from his morning run. Hey, you're both up early. He kissed Marlo's cheek first, then mine, like an afterthought. We need to talk, I said. About the accounts. His expression shifted, almost imperceptibly. Can it wait? I have an early meeting. $25,000, Alden. Were you planning to mention it? Marlo quietly slipped out of the kitchen, taking my mother's mug with her. It's temporary, he said, not meeting my eyes. Marlo needed help with Derek's medical bills, and the insurance hasn't come through yet. Our savings, Alden. Our future. You didn't even discuss it with me. Because you would have said no. His voice rose. She's family. She needed help. And what am I? The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Upstairs, I could hear Marlo's kids laughing, the sound of their footsteps on what used to be my home office floor. I'll pay it back, he finally said. Once everything settled. My phone buzzed. Another anonymous text. Check account ending in 4891. It's not just medical bills. What else aren't you telling me? I showed him the text. His face drained of color. Someone's trying to cause trouble. You shouldn't listen to. Then show me. I held out my hand. Show me your phone. Prove there's nothing else. He took a step back, clutching his phone tighter. I don't have to prove anything. This is my family we're talking about. And our marriage? What are we talking about there? Before he could answer, Marlo appeared in the doorway, wearing a new designer dress I'd never seen before. Alden, we're going to be late for the appointment. What appointment? I asked. Just helping her look at some properties, he said quickly. Too quickly. In a dress that probably cost more than our mortgage payment. Marlo's face flushed. It was a gift. From Alden. To help me feel better after. Everything. The room spun slightly. I steadied myself against the counter, remembering all the times I'd asked Alden about our dwindling savings. All his vague explanations about market fluctuations and temporary setbacks. I have to go, he said, already backing away. We'll talk tonight. Will we? Or will Marlowe need something else that's more important? He paused at the door, and for a moment, I saw uncertainty flicker across his face. Then Marlowe touched his arm, and whatever he might have said disappeared into the morning air as they left together. I sat down at the kitchen table, surrounded by the remnants of what used to be my life, my home, my savings, my marriage. The anonymous texter had been right about everything so far. What else would they reveal? My fingers hovered over the phone, ready to reply to the unknown number. Sometimes I thought the real betrayal isn't in the secrets they keep, but in the truth they force you to face. I typed, "Tell me everything." The response from my anonymous informant came with attachments, bank statements, text messages, photos. Each one a nail in the coffin of my marriage. I stared at my laptop screen in my office, trying to make sense of it all, when Marcus knocked on my door. "The Henderson pitch is starting." He paused, noticing my expression. "Everything okay?" I closed the laptop.
Fine.
"Just family stuff." Family stuff doesn't usually make people look like they've seen a ghost. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with Cora's name. I let it go to voicemail, but she called again immediately. "You need to come home," she said when I finally answered. "Marlowe's having a crisis, and Alden says you're not being supportive enough." I caught my reflection in the office window. Pale, drawn, unrecognizable. "I'm at work, Cora. Some of us still have jobs to maintain." That's exactly the kind of attitude I'm talking about. Family comes first, does it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like only certain family members matter. The silence on her end was telling. Finally, she said, "We're having a family meeting tonight. Don't disappoint Alden again." I walked into the pitch meeting late, my mind spinning with numbers from the bank statements. A joint account I never knew about. Regular transfers dating back months before Derek's death. A lease agreement with both their names on it. Alara? Marcus was staring at me expectantly. The campaign strategy? I opened my mouth to respond, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I stood up abruptly. "I need to handle something. Personal emergency." The drive home felt surreal. The house was full when I arrived, Cora arranging flowers in the kitchen, Everett watching TV with Marlowe's kids. Marlowe herself curled up on my spot on the couch. "No Alden. Where is he?" I asked. Marlowe looked up, her eyes red. "He's picking up dinner. I had another panic attack, and he's been so wonderful." "Stop." My voice was quiet but firm. "Just stop." Cora appeared in the doorway. "Alara, really. Show some compassion." I pulled out my phone and opened the photos I'd received. Like the compassion they showed when they signed a lease together 3 months ago. The room went silent. Marlowe's face drained of color. "I don't know what you're talking about," she whispered, but her hand trembled as she reached for her water glass. "The apartment on Cedar Street. The joint account. The transfers that started long before Derek died." Each word fell like a stone between us. "Want to explain that compassion to me?" Cora moved to stand between us. "Whatever you think you know." The front door opened, and Alden walked in carrying takeout bags. He froze when he saw my expression, the phone in my hand. "We need to talk," I said. "Not now," he replied quickly. "Marlowe needs." Marlowe always needs something, doesn't she? And you're always there to provide it. With our money. Our future. He set the bags down slowly. "You don't understand. Then explain it to me. Explain the apartment. Explain why you've been lying to me for months." The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Marlowe made a small, choked sound and fled upstairs. Cora followed, shooting me a venomous look. Alden's face hardened. "You're making assumptions." "No." I cut him off. "I'm finally seeing clearly. The question is, what happens now?" He looked at me then, really looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something like fear in his eyes. Not fear of losing me, I realized, but fear of what I might do with the truth. "We should discuss this privately," he said quietly. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Nothing in this house has been private since she moved in. Why start now? The restaurant buzzed with celebration as waiters brought out Marlowe's birthday cake. I watched from my seat, numb, as Alden stood to make his speech. My wine glass was empty again, Third time tonight. To my amazing sister, he raised his glass, who deserves every happiness. Which is why. He pulled out a small box, wrapped in silver paper. This is just a small token of our love. Our love. Our savings. Our life together, dissolving like sugar in bitter coffee. Marlowe's squeal of delight as she opened the box made heads turn at nearby tables. Inside lay a key fob with a familiar logo. You didn't, she gasped. It's parked outside. Alden beamed. The SUV you've been eyeing. Safe for the kids. Perfect for your new start. Cora wiped away tears. So thoughtful, darling. Isn't it wonderful, Elara? I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the floor. Wonderful? Is that what we're calling it? Elara, Alden warned quietly. Not here. Why not here? Everyone else seems to know our financial situations better than I do. I turned to Marlowe. Did you know that car cost more than what's left in our savings? The savings your brother's been draining for months. The restaurant grew quieter. Everett cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss this at home. Like we discussed the apartment lease? Or the joint account? My voice was steady, surprising even me. Or should we talk about the real reason Derek's life insurance hasn't paid out yet? Marlowe's face went white. Alden stepped toward me, but I held up my hand. Don't pretend you're protecting me anymore. You're making a scene, Cora hissed. Think of the family. Family? I laughed, the sound sharp and foreign. Let me tell you about family. Family doesn't drain their brother's marriage dry. Family doesn't manipulate and lie and… That's enough. Alden's fist hit the table, making the glasses jump. You're drunk. You're embarrassing yourself. No, I said quietly. You've done that for me quite thoroughly. I reached into my purse and pulled out the stack of bank statements, letting them fall across the cake. Happy birthday, Marlowe. Hope the car was worth it. As I walked toward the door, I heard Marlowe start to cry, those perfect, practiced sobs that always brought Alden running. But this time, I heard footsteps behind me. Where are you going? Alden grabbed my arm. I jerked away. Don't touch me. Don't you dare touch me. You're overreacting. If you'd just let me explain. Explain what? How you've been planning this for months. How you and Marlowe. She needed help. After everything with Derek. Derek's insurance claim was denied because of suspicious circumstances. I cut in. Did you know that? Did you help her with that too? His face changed, just for a second, but it was enough. In that moment, I saw everything I needed to know. Elara, please. He reached for me again. Come home. We can talk about this. Home. I stepped back. That house stopped being my home the moment you chose her over me. Over us. Through the restaurant window, I could see Marlowe being consoled by Cora, both of them shooting glances my way. The perfect victims in their perfect family drama. My phone buzzed, another message from my anonymous informant. There's more. When you're ready to know everything. I looked back at Alden, standing there with his hand still outstretched, and realized something. Sometimes revenge isn't about making others hurt. It's about finally allowing yourself to walk away. Goodbye, Alden, I said, and stepped into the night air, leaving behind the remains of a birthday cake and a marriage built on lies. Iris's spare bedroom felt like a confessional in the pre-dawn hours. I sat cross-legged on the bed, scrolling through the latest messages from my anonymous informant. Police reports. Insurance investigations. Derek's death wasn't the tragic accident everyone believed. My phone lit up with Alden's 20th call of the night. I silenced it, but not before seeing his text. Don't do anything stupid. Please. Too late for that. I'd already contacted Derek's insurance investigator. Iris appeared in the doorway with coffee. You look like hell. Thanks. I took the mug, avoiding her concerned gaze. Did you know there was a life insurance policy on me too? She sat down heavily on the edge of the bed. What? Taken out 6 months ago. Alden's the beneficiary. I showed her the document on my laptop, right around the time Marlowe started spending more time at our house. That doesn't mean… Derek's brake lines were tampered with, Iris. The police report was buried, but it's there. The silence stretched between us, broken only by another buzz from my phone. This time it was Marlo. Please come home. We can explain everything. Iris read the message over my shoulder. Maybe you should hear them out.
Why?
So they can spin more lies. I stood up, pacing the small room. I've already contacted a lawyer. She's meeting me this morning. Alara. A sharp knock at the front door cut her off. Through the window, I saw Cora's car in the driveway. Don't answer it, I whispered. But Cora's voice carried through the door. Alara, we know you're there. This has gone far enough. Iris squeezed my hand and went to answer. I heard their voices in the hallway, getting closer. She's being ridiculous, Cora was saying. These wild accusations. Are they wild? I stepped into the hallway. The apartment lease? The drained accounts? The life insurance policies? Cora's face hardened. You don't understand our family. No, I understood too late. That's different. Marlo needs protection. After what happened with Derek. What had happened with Derek, Cora? Because the police report suggests it wasn't an accident. The color drained from her face. For the first time, I saw fear replace her usual certainty. You need to stop this investigation, she said quietly. For everyone's sake. Or what? She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. Or these photos of you and Marcus from the Henderson account meeting go to the board of directors. My stomach dropped. The photos were innocent, just us working late, but framed exactly wrong. Career-destroying wrong. You're blackmailing me? I'm protecting my family. She set the envelope on the side table. Come home. Stop the investigation. Or tomorrow, these go public. After she left, Iris picked up the envelope. We can explain these. Can we? In this industry? With these clients? I sank against the wall. They've thought of everything. My phone buzzed again, the anonymous informant. Time running out. Meet me at Riverside Park, 1 p.m. You'll want to hear this. Don't go, Iris said. It's not worth it. But I was already grabbing my keys. Because here's the thing about hitting bottom. Sometimes you find there's another level lower, waiting to show you just how far you can fall. I have to know, I told her. Even if it destroys me. And if it does? I thought about Alden's betrayal, Marlo's manipulation, Cora's threats. Then at least I'll go down knowing the truth. And maybe, I touched the police report on my laptop. Maybe I can get justice for Derek too. Sometimes revenge isn't about winning. Sometimes it's about being willing to lose everything to expose the truth. Riverside Park was empty except for a familiar figure on a bench, Marlo, alone, clutching a manila envelope. No anonymous informant, just another manipulation. I almost turned around, but she called out, Derek knew. Those two words stopped me cold. I approached slowly, keeping distance between us. Knew what? About Alden and me. About everything. Her hands trembled as she opened the envelope. He was going to expose us. So you killed him? No. She looked up, tears streaming down her face. I loved Derek. But Alden couldn't let him ruin everything. The world tilted sideways. What are you saying? I didn't know what he was planning. I swear. She pulled out a stack of papers. Derek left these for me. Insurance documents, bank records, everything. He knew Alden was embezzling from his company, using my accounts to hide the money. A jogger passed by, reminding me we were in public. Why tell me this now? Because Alden's planning the same thing for you. She handed me the papers. The life insurance policy, the fake photos with your coworker. He's going to destroy you, just like he destroyed Derek. And you're just now growing a conscience? I'm scared, Alara. Her voice cracked. For my kids. For myself. Alden's not who I thought he was. Who any of us thought he was. Footsteps crunched on gravel behind us. We both turned to see Alden approaching, his face a mask of controlled rage. I should have known you'd crack, he said to Marlo. You always were the weak link. It's over, Alden, I said, standing. I'm taking these to the police. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. With what proof? A grieving widow's desperate stories? Photos that could easily be explained as a sister seeking comfort from her brother. Derek's evidence. is circumstantial at best. And who will believe you after those photos of you and Marcus go public? Your career will be ruined. Your reputation destroyed. Like you destroyed Derek? His smile faltered. Derek was an accident. Was it? Marlo stood, her voice stronger now. Tell that to the mechanic who saw you the day before. Alden's composure cracked. You followed me? I followed Derek's instructions. She pulled out her phone, played a video. Alden's voice filled the air, arguing with Derek about missing money, making threats. You recorded everything, I whispered. Delete it. Alden stepped forward, reaching for the phone.
Now.
It's already with my lawyer, I said. And the insurance investigators. They're reopening Derek's case. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your email. The investigator should have contacted you by now. He pulled out his phone, his face draining of color as he read. When he looked up, the controlled mask was gone, replaced by something darker. I did everything for this family, he snarled. Everything. And you both betray me like this. No, Alden, I said quietly. You betrayed us. All of us. Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Marlo's hand found mine, squeezing tight. They're coming for you, she told her brother. It's over. Alden looked between us, his perfect world crumbling. You'll regret this, he said, but his voice shook. Both of you. As the police cars pulled up, I watched my husband raise his hands in surrender. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone else. It's about refusing to let them destroy you. Marlo turned to me, her eyes full of tears and determination. I'm sorry. For everything. I know, I said, watching Alden being handcuffed. So am I. 6 months after Alden's arrest, I stood in our old house one last time, packing the last boxes before the sale closed. Sunlight streamed through windows that no longer held family photos, casting shadows across empty walls that once witnessed so many lies. My phone buzzed, a text from Marlo. Coffee? The kids miss their Aunt Lara. These monthly meetings had become our way of healing, of understanding. Not forgiveness exactly, but something closer to acceptance. I typed back. Usual place noon? The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Cora standing there, looking older than I remembered. The realtor said you'd be here today, she said softly. May I come in? I stepped aside, watching her take in the empty rooms. She touched the wall where Marlo's photos once hung, where my life had begun to unravel. Alden wants to see you, she said finally. Before the sentencing. I know. He's written letters. Have you read them?
No.
I closed a box, sealing it with tape. Some things are better left unsaid. She pulled an envelope from her purse. He confessed everything. About Derek, the money, all of it. He's accepting a plea deal. That doesn't change anything. No, she agreed, surprising me. But maybe this will. She handed me the envelope. Marlo showed us the truth. About how we enabled him, how we chose not to see. Inside was a cashier's check, the exact amount Alden had taken from our savings. I don't want your money. It's not ours. It's Derek's life insurance payout. It belongs to his children. Her voice cracked. We were so wrong, Ilara. About everything. The front door opened again, and Marlo stepped in with her kids. They ran to me, hugging my legs, while she hung back uncertainly. Mom, she said to Cora, I didn't know you'd be here. I'm leaving. Cora moved toward the door, then paused. I'm sorry, Ilara, for not being the family you deserved. After she left, Marlo helped me load the last boxes into my car. The kids played in the empty living room, their laughter echoing off bare walls. I got a job offer, she said. In Seattle. A fresh start. That's good. I meant it. The kids will love it there. What about you? What's next? I looked at the house that had held so many versions of myself. Wife, daughter-in-law, victim, survivor. I'm staying. This is my home, my city. I won't let what happened change that. And Alden's request? Will you see him? I thought about his letters, still unopened in my desk. About revenge and justice, and how sometimes they look different than you expect. Some wounds don't need closure, I said. They just need time to heal. She nodded, understanding in her eyes. Thank you for helping me find my strength, for showing me another way. The kids came running out, asking about ice cream. We laughed, a genuine sound that felt like victory. Later, alone in my new apartment, I finally opened one of Alden's letters. His words spilled across the page. Explanations, apologies, pleas for understanding. But what caught my eye was the last line. I thought I was protecting everyone, but in the end, you were the only one strong enough to save us all. I folded the letter and watched the sunset paint the city gold. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't in destroying what hurt you, but in rebuilding something stronger from the ruins. Sometimes justice looks like moving forward while letting the past fade into shadow. My phone buzzed again, another text from Marlo. Thank you for showing me what real family looks like. I smiled, thinking of ice cream with her kids, of healing wounds and new beginnings. Some family ties are chosen, forged in truth rather than blood. Those are the ones that last.